Anything to hide? Jimin was silent for a long time. After greeting that day, the atmosphere at the military headquarters seemed brighter than usual. Armies around the world are cheering because Taehyung and RM have just officially completed their military service. Various media and fans monitor every movement, every word, and every expression that emerges from the BTS members. However, in the midst of that happiness, there was one small moment that did not escape ARMY's observant eyes. A moment that for a moment makes many wonder, what is it really about Jimin? When Jimin, who is still serving the rest of his military service, took the time to greet Taehyung, the initially warm atmosphere suddenly felt strange. Jimin smiled, hugged Taehyung warmly in front of the camera, but when the hug ended, Jimin suddenly fell silent for a long time. He looked at Taehyung as if he had something to say, but he didn't say it. Those few seconds of silence may seem ordinary to the layman, but for ARMY who had known Jimin's expression for years, they knew. It wasn't an ordinary look. The video immediately went viral on platforms such as X, Twitter, and TikTok. Many ARMY noticed how after that moment of embrace, Jimin lowered his head for a moment, sighed, and then tried to change the conversation with a small laugh that sounded a bit forced. "There's something Jim didn't say. I can feel it," one soldier wrote on social media. Some fans even suspect that Jimin is harboring feelings or stories that he has not shared, both with Taehyung and the other members. Is it about his hard times in the ARMY? Or about personal relationships that have been kept tight? Even more interesting is how Jungkook reacted after seeing the moment. According to sources close to their military environment, Jungkook became quieter than usual after Jimin and Taehyung's meeting. Some say that Jungkook had asked Jimin personally, "Hyung, what's wrong with you? I saw you say something, but you held it back." But as usual, Jimin just smiled and answered briefly, "No, Kook." I was surprised to see Taehyung back. The taste is mixed. The answer sounded too simple for such a deep look. Some fans began to speculate that Jimin might have kept the story known only to himself and possibly Jungkook. Some lively comments on social media include, "Jimin's gaze to Taehyung was like something was unfinished. Jungkook must know something. Look at the way he looked at Jimin after that. Jimin always harbored his own feelings. I hope he's okay." There are also those who associate this moment with old rumors about the internal dynamics in the group, which so far have been deliberately not discussed with the public. But until now, no one can be sure of its correctness. Interestingly, after that moment, several times Jungkook seemed to get closer and more protective to Jimin. On several occasions, both during training and in leisure time in the barracks, Jungkook is often seen always by Jimin's side, as if not wanting to leave him alone for too long. "If Jimin Hyung is silent, I know best why he is. Not everyone can read him," Jungkook said in a casual chat with military staff. This makes ARMY even more convinced that Jungkook knows something that no one else knows. To date, neither Jimin nor Taehyung have given any statement about the moment. Perhaps for them, it is part of a personal story that the public does not need to know. However, the loyal ARMY always pay attention to small details, because that's where they learn to understand the depth of the BTS members' relationships. After that moment of silence, Jungkook was no longer the same. For others, perhaps Jungkook's changes were barely noticeable. He kept smiling, kept talking as usual, and still showed his joy when he was with other members. However, behind all that, there was one thing she secretly did. She kept her eyes on Jimin. Every time Jimin spoke, Jungkook was there. Every time Jimin showed his thin smile, Jungkook looked at him in silence. Whenever Jimin tried to cover his fatigue with laughter, Jungkook was always the first to offer him a drink of water or simply gently touch his shoulder. Not much to say, but enough to let Jimin know that he was not alone. "If I can't hear his feelings, at least I can be the one who's always around," Jungkook said in an evening training session attended by only a few nearby staff. Jungkook knew that something was weighing Jimin down, something that may have to do with Jimin's meeting with Taehyung, or it may go much deeper than that. However, Jungkook chose not to insist. He chose to attend. He chose to be a solid wall, a place where Jimin could lean whenever he was tired. There was one other moment that was captured by the camera, even if it was only a few seconds. As Jimin sat alone, staring blankly into the courtyard of the barracks, Jungkook, who was not far away, stopped his steps. He looked at Jimin deeply, as if he wanted to convey the thousands of words he had kept. Without calling, without saying anything, Jungkook just smiled a little and sat down next to him. They were silent, but for them, silence is a deeper language than just a sentence. ARMY who saw the footage burst into tears. Comments flooded social media. Sometimes love doesn't need words. Jungkook understood Jimin without even having to say a word. A simple moment that makes the heart congested. I hope Jimin knows how much Jungkook has always been there for him. Many interpreted the moment as proof that their relationship had gone beyond the usual bromance. Maybe there is no need for labels, but there is definitely a sense there is sincerity that cannot be hidden. A week before they are scheduled to complete their military service, Jimin finally decides to speak to Jungkook in a very personal late-night conversation. Jungkook, I want to say something, but I don't know where to start, Jimin said quietly, his voice barely shaking. Jungkook, who was looking down, looked at him slowly. It's all right, Hyung. You don't have to force yourself. I'm here to listen whenever you're ready. Jimin took a deep breath. When I hugged Taehyung, I realized that our time together would not be long. I'm scared, Kook. I'm afraid we're all gonna change. I'm afraid I'm missing the kayak moment now. Jungkook approached, patting Jimin's shoulder warmly. Hyung, we're not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. Jimin's tears fell without he could bear it. Sometimes I wish time could stop. Right here, with you. Jungkook smiled as he held back his own tears. If time doesn't stop, I promise I will keep walking with you. Anywhere. Until then. That night, perhaps, was the night when the two finally let go of the burden they had been storing. Not just about conscription, not just about the fear of facing the world after so long, but about such deep trust in each other. About how they take care of each other, understand each other without the need for many words. Now, with only days to go to their freedom, the whole world is waiting. RM and Taehyung were greeted with a standing ovation. And now it's Jimin and Jungkook's turn. But for the ARMY, the more important moment is not just when they return to the stage. The most awaited moment is when the two figures who have been sharing stories behind the scenes stand together again, in front of everyone, without further need to hide their feelings. ARMY believes their togetherness will not fade even though time goes on. Because as Jungkook once said, if time does not stop, I will walk with you. That sentence is now a reinforcement, a promise not only for Jimin, but also for the ARMY who always believed and waited. To be sure, the meeting left a hanging question. What did Jimin really want to say to Taehyung? Was Jungkook the only place Jimin shared his story? Perhaps time will tell. Maybe Jimin will share that story another day. Or maybe it would remain a little secret that only the three of them knew.